Everyone, this is Dr. Katherine.Kelly. For Soul Wisdom Wednesday today, I want to bring you 5 rules they're life rules, basically soul rules, just good rules to live by that I want to bring to you because I think everybody can apply each and every one of these rules in one or more ways. And I have a story that I love to tell about this. I've had this male client that I've worked with on and off since I think it was 2011. It's been quite a while and very tough marriage situation. And eventually he did leave that marriage, did a lot of healing. He hadn't dated in a long time. So I kind of helped him get into the dating world. And so there's been a lot of processing, and there was a lot of family stuff we had to work through. There's a lot of understanding himself from a soul level as well as from a human level. And over the first several years of us working together, I basically pulled out a sticky note and I would write these rules one by one on the sticky note and I would hand it to him. And finally, he condensed it into one sticky note and he keeps it in his wallet to this day, which I just love actually. And I want to share these rules of life and living and of evolution with you now so that you can kind of get a feel for how to really implement these into your life. And so the very first one is don't endure. So what does that mean? So when you know that you're putting up with something, and trust me, I've put up with way too much in my life for way too long, in many ways, but it's like, don't endure. It takes us about 15 to 20 seconds to know that we are in a situation or enduring something we don't want to be doing. And what do? We endure because we think we have to, or we think that, oh, it's not going to be nice for us to bow out of whatever the situation is. But if you know that you are going to endure something, you're going to catch it within about that 15, 20 seconds. So my rule number one is don't endure anything for more than 15 or 20 seconds. A lot of times we can anticipate what we're going to have to endure, and then we dread it, or we have all this angst, we have all this frustration. And so when it comes to the soul, what is the worst possible thing we can do for our soul? We can betray our soul. And when we put ourselves in situations that we have to endure, we are betraying that truth of who we are. And we are putting ourselves in a situation that we will inevitably, in one way or another, become misaligned. And, I use the words alignment all the time. And so what's the quickest way to get misaligned? Basically, to betray your soul. And in this particular rule, it is enduring something that you know is not healthy for you, is not good for you, is basically you're putting up with something, you're suppressing yourself in order to be in a situation. There's all kinds of ways that we endure. And so from a soul health perspective, that very first rule is don't endure anything for more than 20 seconds, because again, that's about how much time it takes for us to understand or realize we are enduring something. So rule number one, don't endure for more than 20 seconds. Rule number two, don't ask permission. Now, what that means is a lot of people feel like they have to ask permission to say no, or they have to ask permission to speak up for themselves, or put themselves in a situation of power or empowerment or truth. When we go against our truth, when we basically either have to shut up, or we think we can't say something, or we feel like we have to pretend in one way or another, whatever it is that goes against our truth, we are kind of we feel like we have to ask permission to be who we are. And so rule number two is don't ask permission for being who you are. Another way to misalign your soul absolutely is to go against your truth. So that's another form of betrayal. So anything that we endure, anything that we feel like we have to go against our truth with, that is something that is immediately going to misalign us in one way or another. What are we going to do? We're going to have resentment. We're going to have angst. We're going to have frustration. Sometimes it turns into physical symptoms, anxiety and depression. So that second one is don't ask permission, particularly for being who you are. Rule number three, don't give your power to others. Now, this is a big one for a lot of people, including myself. There have been many, many times. I grew up in a family that we never could talk about anything serious. We could never speak up for ourselves. We could never speak our truth. We could never assert ourselves. It was not permissible in my family to do that. So as soon as I left the family, I had to learn how to reclaim my power, learn how to speak my truth, learn how to assert myself. And so Rule number 3 of don't giving your power to others is a big one for lots of reasons, because women in particular have been shushed and shut down through the generations. So it's kind of almost a societal kind of thing. And so we don't realize how hard it is to break through some of that, taking back our power and not giving our power up. For males, there's other ways that males have given up their power. Um, I think in particular, one of them is to not have emotions, to not be able to show emotions, not be able to show sadness or to cry. So there are lots of ways that both genders have given away their power. And this is part of our soul's evolution, is to be who we are. And if it means we need to cry, we need to cry. If it means we need to speak up, we need to speak up. So that whole not giving power, but I spend so much time as a therapist and a soul healing practitioner teaching people how, well, number one, what their power is, what their personal power is, and how not to give it up. So this is a long process for a lot of people, is to realize that they don't, by giving away their power, they misalign their souls, and they basically, again, it goes against soul health. The fourth one is don't apologize for your life. What I mean by that is, if you have choices that aren't within the norm, if you have preferences, if you have ways of living that aren't within the norm, but they fit you, then again, you shouldn't have to apologize for that. For someone who is giving you a hard time about being you, it's really about them. But boy, is that really hard to overcome. That is so hard for us to just not apologize for who we are, be our authentic selves, be in our truth, and be able to move forward in life regardless, because there are so many obstacles in the human condition for societal norms, family norms, gender norms, what is permissible, what is not permissible. So basically, not apologizing for your life is another huge one. Some of that is in giving your power away. Some of that is in asking permission. Some of that is in having to endure. So you can see how these are all of these rules are linked together. And to me, they are linked together for soul health. The fifth one is owning your worth. Now, again, a huge, huge, huge lesson within the human condition. When we own our worth, we are practicing self-love. We are practicing soul health. Because when we can't step into our worth, and I don't mean wealth worth, I mean personal worth, understanding that we are worthwhile individuals, understanding that we don't have to be something for someone else. A lot of times that is the biggest lesson, another one of the biggest lessons, I shouldn't say the biggest lesson depending on the person, but it's another huge lesson, is to just lean into your worth. Self-esteem is one of the biggest challenges in the human condition. Now, I prefer using the word integrity. Self-esteem is looking at the world from the outside in, whereas integrity is looking at it from the inside out. When we own our worth, when we don't ask for permission, when we don't apologize for who we are, when we don't ask basically to endure a situation or give ourselves away through giving away our power, we are living in our integrity. And so everything about what I do is about soul health, and soul, you almost have to treat your soul as if it is a separate individual, in getting to know it, getting to know what it needs, and how you practice learning how to interact with your soul. But really, it's everything that you are. Your soul is everything you are. And our wounds over the years and over the lifetimes have taught us to endure, have taught us to ask for permission, have taught us to give our power away, and have taught us to apologize basically for our lives, and to not own who we are as worthwhile beings. So that's partially why it is so important for me to emphasize the need for soul health, is that if you really look at the world, there are so many different things that the universe has tested us with, but the human condition just constantly beats us down. And it is time for us to understand what soul health is really all about. So again, you kind of have to treat your soul as if it's a separate individual, but it is everything you are. And so when you start to respect yourself, when you start to treat yourself better than anybody else has ever treated you, when you stop all that negative language, when you stop to make excuses for moving forward, when you decide you're not going to endure anymore, and basically going through all of those different things that challenge us in the human condition, that is when we reach soul health. That is when we align. And these 5 rules can be very, very helpful in getting you started in that process. So if you want to write these down, put them in your wallet, put them in your purse, put them on your computer, put them on your refrigerator, your bathroom mirror, whatever it is, just remember that these are things to remind yourself of every day. And there's probably not much better wisdom I can give you for Soul Wisdom Wednesday than to provide you with some of these tools and some of these rules. So one more time, don't endure for more than 20 seconds. Don't ask permission. Don't give away your power. Don't apologize for your life or your choices, and also own your worth. Those to me are really wonderful tools in not only living the human life, but also in really starting to embody this whole idea of soul health. So I hope this was helpful for you. I meet with this person weekly now, still basically to do some coaching with him now. It's not really a therapy situation, but it's really valuable. And every once in a while he'll say, yeah, man, I took that sheet out of my wallet. And it's gratifying for me to know that those words of wisdom are carrying on. So I wanted to pass them on to you. Hope you have a wonderful day. Light and love to all of you, and more soul health information to come.